Luna stood at the very edge of the Whispering Woods. The air was thick, heavy with the scent of damp earth and ancient pine. She paced a tight, rhythmic line, her ears twitching at every snap of a dry leaf. The forest was unnaturally quiet, holding its breath. Beside her, Bramble prepared for flight. He braced his feet, spread his wings, and launched into the air with a desperate, frantic flap. It lasted 3 seconds. He hopped twice, lost his balance, and slid sideways into a thick patch of ferns with a dull thud. He stayed there for a moment, then sat up and shook a twig from his tail. "I meant to do that," Bramble huffed, his voice cutting through the stillness. "It is a tactical landing." Luna did not turn her head. Her gaze remained fixed on the dense, dark trees ahead. The forest shifted. A sudden cold draft swept through the ferns, and the leaves stopped rustling entirely. The silence was no longer peaceful. It was heavy, expectant, and sharp. Luna moved toward the cave entrance, her paws finding purchase on the slick stone. Bramble followed, his waddle hurried and ungraceful. As they rounded the final cluster of boulders, the darkness coalesced into a form. It was a creature of ink and shadow, huddled against the cave wall. It was shivering violently, its entire frame vibrating with every shallow breath. In its grip, a glass jar pulsed with a soft, trapped light. Luna stopped. The creature flinched, pulling the jar closer to its chest, as if it were a shield against the biting air. "Why are you stealing the light?" Luna asked, her voice steady. The creature let out a sharp, jagged squeak. It pointed to its own dark, icy limbs, then gestured frantically to the jar, its movements jerky and desperate. Bramble stepped forward, his head tilting to the side as he watched the shadow creature tremble. He sniffed the air, ignoring the tension. "He is not fighting us." "Luna!" Bramble whispered, his voice losing its usual bravado. "Look at him. He is not a monster. He's just freezing." The creature looked up, eyes wide and brimming with a hollow, deep-seated terror. It was not hoarding the light to be cruel. It was clinging to the glow to survive the relentless cold. Luna looked down at her own paws. The soft, rhythmic glow emanating from her skin felt like a beacon in the suffocating dark. She stepped over the threshold. Immediately, the temperature plummeted and the shadows seemed to thicken, pressing against her like heavy wet velvet. She did not stop. She pushed forward, her fur flaring with a sudden, intense burst of brilliance that turned the jagged cave walls into a display of shimmering constellations. The darkness shied away, recoiling from the sudden influx of warmth. Ahead, Grumbles scrambled backward, his movements panicked and erratic. He pressed himself further into a narrow crevice, his ink-black form blurring into the surrounding stone. Luna ignored the urge to flee. She maintained a steady, measured pace, her light carving a path through the gloom. With each step, the air grew slightly less frigid. She reached the spot where he huddled and sat down, carefully tucking her tail away. She did not reach out. She simply sat, keeping her distance, but allowing her radiance to flood the small alcove. The jars of trapped moonbeams in his grip pulsed in response, flickering in time with her steady, measured breathing. The shadow creature ceased his retreat, his wide eyes fixed on the glow that now washed over his cold, trembling hands. A sound descended from the heights of the cave, deep and melodic. It was a voice that vibrated through the very stone beneath their feet. Mother Moon spoke. "Light is not to be hoarded, little shadow. It is meant to be shared." The words hung in the air, weighted with ancient gravity. Luna looked at the jar, trembling in the creature's grasp. She nudged the glass with her nose, a gentle, deliberate push. The glass groaned, then shattered into 1,000 tiny points of light. The trapped beams erupted, a swirling vortex of silver that danced across the cave floor and spiraled into the crevices of the stone. The air temperature surged, melting the biting chill into a soft ambient heat. Grumbles stopped shaking. His ink-black form began to lose its jagged edge, softening, shifting, and fading into a translucent, gentle grey. He blinked, his wide eyes tracking the light as it settled into his own skin. He held up his hands, watching in silence as they pulsed with a faint, borrowed silver radiance. The darkness that had been his cage dissolved, replaced by the glow of the very light he had once feared to lose. He was no longer a prisoner of the shadows, but a vessel for the warmth he had desperately sought. The heavy, biting dampness of the cave evaporated, replaced by a dry, ambient heat that settled comfortably against the stone. Grumbles looked down at his own form, his fingers splayed, watching the silver glow shift and ripple through his translucent skin like moonlight on water. He stood up slowly, testing the newfound lightness in his limbs. From the dark mouth of the cave, a familiar, rhythmic, flapping sound approached. Bramble waddled into the light, his beak stained with the juice of a wild berry he had scavenged from the entrance. He looked at the glowing creature, then at Luna, and let out a satisfied chirp. "See? I told you we would handle it," he declared, puffing out his chest as he found a comfortable spot on a flat rock nearby. Luna laughed, a soft sound that echoed gently against the now warm walls. She settled onto the floor, tucking her glowing tail around her feet. Grumbles hesitated, then sat down beside them, his presence no longer an ink blot on the world, but a part of the soft, starlit scenery. The trio remained there as the cave transformed from a cold, dark pit into a sanctuary of shared warmth. Outside, the woods continued their rustle, but inside there was only the quiet hum of peace.